On the night of my 80th birthday, my children gathered around me with forced smiles and trembling hands. I thought they had brought me cake, perhaps candles to blow out, maybe even a song. Instead, they slid a thick envelope across the table, their eyes darting to one another like thieves sharing a crime. When I opened it, I froze. Legal documents, pages upon pages, stripping me of my home, my savings, and even the land my late husband left me. My birthday gift was a contract, demanding my signature to give away everything I had worked for. The laughter in the room wasn't joy. It was relief, as though they had finally cornered me. My heart broke, but I didn't let them see my tears. Because deep inside, I held a truth far greater than their betrayal, a truth they were not ready to face. My name is Martha Johnson, and for 80 long years, I carried the weight of a family that I believed was built on love. Born in the Deep South, in a time when opportunity was scarce, I worked my fingers raw in cotton fields before moving to the city with my late husband, Harold. Together, we built a modest home, not just with bricks and boards, but with sacrifice, sweat, and prayers whispered in the dark. We raised 3 children, Samuel, Denise, and Clara, each one carrying pieces of our struggle and our dreams. I worked double shifts as a maid while Harold drove trucks through long, endless nights. Every dime we earned went toward food, education, and clothes for our children. I went without new shoes for 5 years so Clara could attend nursing school. Harold sold his prized tools so Samuel could pay for law books. Denise, the middle child, was always the quiet one, the peacemaker, the shadow between storms. I never imagined that my love, the same love that held them when they cried and sacrificed when they hungered, would be repaid with betrayal. But families are strange things. They can carry you through the darkest nights, or they can carve the deepest wounds into your soul. On my 80th birthday, surrounded by the very children I once protected, I realized that love alone does not guarantee loyalty. And sometimes, the deepest cuts come not from strangers, but from the very hands you once held. The morning of my 80th birthday began like so many others, quiet, simple, filled with small rituals that kept me steady in a world that often felt too fast. I woke before the sun, the way I always did, and sat at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee. The light filtered in through the curtains Harold and I had bought decades ago, now faded but still holding the memories of our first home together. My bones ached, but my heart felt warm, because birthdays, no matter how old you are reminders that you're still here, still standing. I moved slowly, humming an old hymn as I folded laundry, watered my plants, and baked a sweet potato pie, the same recipe my mother had passed down to me. It wasn't for me, really. It was for my children. I thought, maybe if I made their favorite, they'd feel the love that never dimmed, even after 80 long years. By noon, Denise called. "Mama, don't cook too much, all right? We've got something special planned for you." Her voice was kind, but rushed, like she was checking a box on a long list of duties. Still, I smiled. "I'll be ready," I told her, though deep down, I noticed the hesitation in her tone. Samuel hadn't called yet, and Clara's text the night before was short. "See you tomorrow, Mama. No hearts, no kisses, just plain words." I pushed those thoughts aside. Children grow, they change, they carry their own burdens. I reminded myself of that every day. When evening came, I set the table, smoothing the lace cloth Harold had once bought me as an anniversary gift. The chairs felt emptier without him. He'd passed 10 years earlier, leaving me with memories and the heavy responsibility of being the glue that kept our children close. Samuel arrived first, his suit pressed sharp, his cologne filling the air before his words did. He hugged me quickly, stiffly, as though affection was another business deal he had to negotiate. "Mama, you're looking well," he said, though his eyes darted to the walls, to the furniture, to everything in the house except me. Then came Clara, her nurse's uniform still creased from work. She kissed my cheek and sighed. "I'm exhausted, Mama. but I wouldn't miss today. Last was Denise, arms full of grocery bags, though I noticed there was no cake box among them. We sat down, eating quietly, the sound of forks and knives louder than our laughter. There was love, yes, but it felt stretched thin, worn out like an old quilt. Samuel spoke about his law firm, Clara about her long shifts, Denise about bills. I listened, nodding, proud of how far they'd come, yet aching that they rarely asked about me. But there were cracks. When I mentioned wanting to repair the roof Harold had built, Samuel's jaw tightened. Clara exchanged a glance with Denise. And when I spoke about leaving the house to all of them, they fell silent, their eyes darkening in unspoken words. I brushed it off. Families argue about money, about homes. It didn't matter. What mattered was that we were together. After dinner, Denise told me, "Mama, we've got a surprise for you." I expected cake, maybe a candle, maybe even a song. Instead, Samuel reached into his briefcase, the leather creaking under his grip. He laid a thick envelope on the table, sliding it toward me with the same care one might use when placing a weapon down. Their faces shifted, not joyous, not celebratory, but expectant, tense, as though this was the moment they had all been waiting for. And that was when my heart, so full just hours before, began to feel the first shadow of something colder, something I wasn't ready to see. The envelope sat in front of me like an unwanted guest. My hands trembled slightly as I touched it, the edges sharp against my fingers. "What's this?" I asked, forcing a smile. "My birthday card?" No one laughed. No one corrected me. Samuel leaned forward, his lawyer's voice measured and cold. "Mama, this is something important. We've all talked it over, and it's what's best for you." I frowned, glancing at Denise and Clara. They avoided my eyes, staring instead at the tablecloth as though it could rescue them. "Go ahead, Mama," Samuel urged, sliding a pen across the table. "Open it." I did. The papers inside were heavy, filled with lines of legal words I could barely see through the blur of my tears. At the top, bold letters read, "Transfer of property." It hit me like a blow. They wanted me to sign over my house, my home, the place Harold and I had built with our sweat and prayers. "Mama," Clara spoke softly, almost pleading, "it's not what you think. It's just, you're getting older. It'll be easier if the house is in our names. We'll take care of everything." My voice cracked. Take care of everything. Or take everything. The room froze. Denise finally whispered, "We're not trying to hurt you. We're protecting the family. If something happens to you, the house could get tied up in court and—" I slammed the table with more strength than I knew I had. This house is the family. Harold's hands built these walls. My hands cleaned these floors. And you want me to just give it away, like a stranger signing over a car? Samuel's tone hardened. "Mama, stop being dramatic. This is practical. You've lived long enough to know emotions don't pay bills." Tears welled in my eyes. "Bills? Do you know what I paid? I paid with my youth, my strength, my dreams. I went without food so you could eat, without rest so you could sleep. And on my birthday, this contract is all I mean to you?" Samuel pressed the pen into my hand. "Mama, it's already decided. Denise and Clara agree. All we need is your signature." I looked at my daughters. Denise's lips trembled, but she didn't speak. Clara's eyes darted away, filled with guilt but chained by silence. My chest ached with betrayal deeper than any wound. For years I believed love was enough to bind us, to protect us. But in that moment, I saw the hunger in their eyes. Not for cake, not for celebration, but for possession. Still, something in me stirred, something stronger than tears. I placed the pen on the table and pushed the papers back. "No." Samuel's jaw clenched. "Mama." I said no. The room turned thick with tension. My children, my blood, sat across from me like wolves denied a kill. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that I had been carrying a secret for years. A truth buried beneath layers of silence, waiting for the day it would be needed. I stood, my knees shaking, but my spirit unbroken. You think you've cornered me. You think I'm weak, old, and blind. But you don't know everything about me, or this house. Their faces shifted, confusion and irritation mixing like storm clouds. Denise finally asked, her voice barely audible, "Mama, what are you saying?" I met her eyes, holding back the storm in my chest. "I'm saying that if you think a contract can take everything from me, you're in for a surprise." And with that, I blew out the unlit candle I had placed on the table earlier, my only birthday candle. The flame wasn't real, but the silence that followed was heavier than any celebration could have been. Because the truth was coming. And when it did, it would turn their betrayal into something they never expected. For a long moment after I refused to sign, the room was silent, except for the steady tick of the old clock on the wall. It was Harold's clock, a gift from his father, and every chime reminded me of the years we had survived together. Samuel's voice finally cut through. "Mama, you don't understand the risk. If you don't sign, the house could—" I raised my hand, stopping him. "I understand more than you think." They stared at me, expecting a tired old woman's resistance to crumble. But instead, I went to the cabinet by the wall, the one no one touched except me. From it, I pulled out a smaller envelope, one I had kept hidden for decades. Its edges were worn, the paper fragile, but its contents had more weight than any contract Samuel could draw up. Denise's eyes narrowed. "What's that?" I walked slowly back to the table, my cane tapping against the floor like a drumbeat of truth. I laid the envelope beside theirs. "This," I said, my voice steady, "is the real contract." Clara frowned. "Mama, what do you mean?" I opened it, revealing the old deed to the house, yellowed and brittle, but stamped with bold letters that bore both my name and Harold's. Alongside it was another paper, an updated will I had signed just 2 years earlier with the help of an attorney they didn't know about. Samuel reached for it, but I pulled it back. "No, son. Listen first." I took a deep breath. "This house is not just mine. It's protected. Years ago, after your father died, I knew the world could change. People get greedy, even family. So I made sure this home could never be taken without my consent. It's under a trust, one you can't touch unless I decide. And when I go, it will not pass to the 3 of you, not like you think." Their eyes widened. Clara gasped. Denise's lips parted in shock, and Samuel's face burned red. "What?" he snapped. I nodded. "I've already chosen who inherits this house. Not you, Samuel. Not you, Denise. Not even you, Clara. This home is going to my grandchildren, directly. Every board, every brick, every memory. They will have the roots you've forgotten. The roots you tried to rip away from me tonight." Clara's voice broke. "Mama, you can't mean that. We've worked so hard." "Worked hard?" My laugh was bitter. "I worked. Your father worked. We gave everything to you. And look at what you bring me on my birthday. Legal papers, not love. Don't you see? This was never about protecting me. It was about control." Denise finally broke down, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Mama, I didn't want this. Samuel said it was for the best. I didn't know what to do." Her words stung, but I saw truth in them. Denise had always been the follower, too afraid to stand alone. Samuel, however, leaned forward, his voice sharp. "So you'd rather trust children with this place than us? You'd cut your own blood out of what's rightfully ours?" I stared at him, my heart heavy. "Blood makes you family, Samuel, but loyalty keeps you there. You showed me tonight where your loyalty lies. In power, in paper, in possession. Not in me." The room filled with silence again, this time heavy with shame. My children had come with a contract to strip me of everything, but I had met them with a contract of my own, one rooted in foresight and love for the generation that still had innocence left. Clara's hands shook. "Mama, please, don't do this. We can fix it. We can celebrate. But I shook my head. You can't fix what's broken tonight. Trust is like glass. Once shattered, it may be pieced together, but it will never be whole again." Their eyes dropped. For the first time, I saw regret creep across their faces, mingling with the greed that had once burned so brightly. Samuel's pride wavered. Denise's guilt poured out in sobs. Clara's voice went silent, her eyes rimmed with red. The truth had landed like a stone in the middle of a pond, rippling through every corner of the room. I stood tall, leaning on my cane, and spoke the final blow. "This house will remain in the family, yes, but not through you. It belongs to those who still know the meaning of love, not contracts. My grandchildren." That night ended without cake, without laughter. They left one by one, their faces pale, their steps heavy. No hugs, no kisses, just silence and the sound of the front door closing behind them. I sat back down at my table, my untouched sweet potato pie still warm, my single candle still unlit. My heart ached, not because of what I had lost, but because of what I had seen. How greed can turn even the closest bonds into chains. And yet, there was a bittersweet justice in knowing the truth had been revealed. I was not powerless. I was not alone. I had protected Harold's legacy, and when my time came, my grandchildren would inherit not just a house, but the story of a woman who refused to be betrayed without standing tall. When the door shut behind my children that night, I realized something. Love is not proven by words or blood alone, but by actions. I had spent 80 years believing sacrifice guaranteed loyalty, that the same children I fed, clothed, and raised would honor me with respect. But greed has a way of revealing the truth buried beneath smiles. I did not lose that night. I gained clarity. My story is not one of bitterness, but of warning. Protect what you've built. Do not assume love will shield you from betrayal, even from those closest to you. And yet, let there also be hope. For while my children's hands reached for paper and possession, my grandchildren's hearts still reach for love. To them, I leave not only a house, but a lesson. Family is not about what you take, but about what you give and what you protect.